Welcome to Market Pulse, Pros and Pioneers. Each week, we talk with industry leaders in both marketing and entrepreneurship and business to find out all about their wins and failures in marketing. Right now, we'll hear all about their successes and wins and what's fallen flat so that you can take that knowledge and implement it. Learn from the best, from the folks who've been there and done it all, as well as people just like you. Thanks for joining us. This is Market Pulse, Pros and Pioneers.
And welcome to this week's episode of Market Pulse, Pros and Pioneers. This week, I'm very privileged to bring to you a guest who's close to my network because I am actually in business with him. Please welcome Phil Fakin to the show. Phil, hi. Hi. Yeah, we're also on audio, so you actually need to speak. It's not just a video podcast. I know video is my thing. So that's where we are. So yeah, I'm gonna circle back around to Phil in a moment in terms of his background. Let Phil do an introduction of himself. But Phil and I set up Marketing Help Desk where we at just over 8 months ago now. Known each other for the best part of 5 years. The reason I have Phil for so long is he's one of the few marketers that I have worked with in person, have seen in action, and understand full funnel from front to back, including sales in with that. And there's not many marketers that I can speak for that have such a deep understanding of the sales side of things as well as marketing. Phil's views are always a good balanced view for most businesses. Big shoes to fill here, Phil, when you do start talking, by the way. Sorry. Just before we move on to that, obviously we've got our sponsor statement. So if you're listening to this, you know I'm all about building content at scale. Sometimes you just need faceless video reels to get content out there. The problem with a lot of footage banks is they just don't look native to social, and that can actually hinder your content performance. So gridbank.io are our sponsors for the show. They're a database of endless vertical authentic video clips for pumping out context, A/B test thumbnails, and creating things. If you're looking to get ahead on socials without burning out your team, you get 10% off your annual subscription. Just hop over to the website at gridbank.io, use code PAUL, and you'll be able to get access and 10% off that annual courtesy of our marketing show. So, to the episode for today. And circling back to the episode now, Phil, I would love you to drop at least one fun fact. I know you have many. Aside from being a DJ, there are other fun facts about you and your business. So share with the audience if you would.
Fun fact on me personally, I can breathe fire like a dragon. Paul's quite insistent that I record this as a video and set fire to myself.
We need it.
Campaigns, so like on past campaigns, could be that I've managed to sell best part of £10,000 worth of Viagra by email, which, considering it's a massive trigger word, everything trying to get blocked into your inbox, is a reasonable order, really.
That's quite a brag. We'll not ask questions as to where the Viagra came from. We'll leave that for another episode on another show. Not personal stock. Okay, as long as we're clear on that one. Good.
But if you're ever in London and you need same-day delivery, point you in the right direction.
Whilst breathing fire. I love it. Phil, would you do me the honour of sharing a little bit of your background with the audience so they can understand where your roots are in marketing? You come to us as a marketing expert as opposed to just a business owner. I say I'm just a business owner as well. But obviously you wear both hats most days. So how did you get involved in marketing first?
Okay, extendedly. It's in reality, I started off life as a techie. I was working in IT where we had a website, and it was left to the IT department to look after because it involved a computer. I moved on from that role and moved into a manufacturing company, and lo and behold, look, there's a website that must be looked after by the IT department. And from there, that then grew out to photography, design, event management, CRM management before CRM was a significant thing. And yeah, that was where I started, really. As part of that, I had to build up a strong relationship with the sales team as well. That's where everything grew from. Marketing and sales have to work together.
You've done that at various sizes company as well, right? So it's not just smallish companies, not medium-sized companies. You've done that at the enterprise level as well, right?
I've done that across the board. One of the things I've always maintained is as soon as I walk into a job and it's been me, I go make friends with the sales team because they need me and I need them, because without the two, they don't work. And then now that also spills over into the customer experience team as well. Because actually sales and marketing both need customer experience, and customer experience doesn't exist without marketing. It becomes this cyclic beast.
It doesn't exist without sales either.
They all have their part to play.
I actually, a wonderful quote the other day by Antoine, who's going to be our guest on another podcast in the not too. And Antoine's quite a well-known figure in the sales development industry. And quoted is, and this is rare, right? Coming from a sales guy, and he said that sales is just a function of market. It's not a separate entity, function of market. I think that's an interesting perspective to take, and probably the right perspective, whether people want to admit it or not, right?
Yeah, it depends on how you want to look at it. You could look at marketing as being the fluffy side of sales. It's the pretty bit that lures people in and gets them interested, and then sales come along to the agile, hardened salespeople come along to flog it. But in reality, that shouldn't be the case anymore. It should be marketing should have done so much of the legwork before. The marketing teams should have done so much of the legwork before they get to point of actual fiscal conversion. The sales is just a natural progression.
Is it fair to say that in the modern day, buyers come to the funnel, the market, nor the sales funnel, they come further down that funnel than they ever used to before? Is that what you've seen?
There is no difference. There is no difference between marketing or sales funnel. They are the same funnel. For a start, they don't necessarily come in at a different. They'll come in at different points because of the way they've come into it. So somebody who comes in because they've come in by a word of mouth has probably been very well nurtured before they even get into the funnel, because you don't know about them, you don't know who's been talking to them, and they've basically been told you need this. They come in right at the end, ready to convert. They don't need that nurturing. But then you get others that still need a level of awareness because they know who you are, but they might not necessarily know what you can do and why what you do is good for them. And that's really important.
Do you think that customers in the modern day and age, certainly if we're going to look at SaaS specifically or software specifically, do you think like the trend is that customers have done or interested to do much more of the research themselves before they reach out to marketing or sales for more information? Do you think that's where we're headed as a country or a geography? Is it geographical? I don't know.
I think it very much depends on the type of company you're talking to, because some companies will want a level of spoon feeding, especially bigger companies where they don't want to have to do the research themselves. They want they want somebody to tell them how their platform will make their business better, what improvements, why they should go to you. And ultimately, especially with SaaS, what return are they going to get by using them? It might not be you're going to be 20% more profitable, but you're going to be 15%, you'll have 15% more time across your team, which ultimately means you have more capacity and your team can make more money or produce more whatever. Depending on what you're making, you might be digging up coal and buying a SaaS platform.
So I guess to zoom out a little bit then, you've been running Bitcoin marketing for how long now? 4 years?
Almost, yeah.
Yeah. And that will put you bang smack at the beginning of COVID when you launched it. So what have you seen change over the last 4 years in terms of customer demand for your services? Like when people come to you, what are they now looking for different things than they were during COVID, or is it just accelerated and stayed at the same place?
Customers for us have definitely clearer idea of they either have a much clearer idea of what they want in a very specific specification, which may or may not work. And then it's our job to unpick it and put it in something that is campaign viable. or they have no idea what they want, but they have a very specific problem and they're much better at articulating that problem than they were. Typically, and actually one of the key things is around leads. We aren't getting any leads. We don't get leads. We aren't getting leads. We don't know how to get leads. It's okay. Marketing is now becoming much, especially within smaller businesses, it's much more, we want leads. We need leads. We need them now. And it's trying to educate people around the necessity for consistent and well-performing campaigns that build up trust with your audience, and actually long-term, they do generate what they want. But there are several stages within that before you get to the end result. You can't just you can't just turn something on today and have it deliver 100% of what you want tomorrow. Not unless you're going to throw an awful lot of money at it.
Lead nicely into the first question that I generally ask our marketing experts on the show, which is, what's one thing that you would key for small business owners in regards to their marketing and their mindset with marketing, or one thing you'd ask them to stop doing? So I guess for you, we'd probably safe to assume that it's to understand a little bit better about that short-term results versus long-term results, and that platform of consistent reliability that builds up all the time with marketing, right?
Sort of, yes, because it is all around consistency. It's just know that it will take time. If you're starting from scratch today, the work that you do now in marketing, you may see some very short-term results that have an impact straight away. But those short-term results are going to be outweighed by the fact that you've then got 6 months of nothing coming, no results coming in off the back. And then it puts you in a position where you feel disheartened that you're doing all this work, you're doing this marketing, and it's not having an impact. Whereas bigger companies will be putting their heads down, keep going, push forward, because they know that it will come out the other end. Small businesses need to have a much bigger, they need to be thinking much more like bigger companies, so that there's an acceptance that it's not going to work immediately, and the work you do now has long-term benefit.
I know, as like somebody who started a business a year ago, I've been down this exact path, and I preached to my clients that they need to keep their faith for the long term, but I still have days where I sit there and, to your point exactly, I'm sat there staring at the screen thinking, I need something to come in, I need something new, and is this working? Should I be doing something different? I think it probably boils down a little bit also to the fact that people who are confident enough and experienced enough to start their own business have experienced that moment, certainly within corporate life or within previous roles, where they need to pivot regularly. If something's not working, you don't just stick with it, move on to something new. However, that's the opposite for a lot of markets. Whilst you shouldn't stick with something that doesn't work, you've got to stay with it long enough to prove it doesn't work, right?
Yeah, but there's ways around pivoting without having to pivot. So your content strategy isn't working. That doesn't mean to give up on content. It just means change your strategy. So don't just go, oh, blogs and social posting doesn't work. No, it won't if you just stop it completely and forget about it and go, I'm not going to do that anymore because I did it for 3 weeks and didn't do anything. One, you need to build up consistency and you need to build up trust. So let's take content marketing out and strategy as a good example here. Build a plan, define your goals, define your activities, and hold yourself accountable for doing them. The same way that if you were in a bigger company, you'd be the marketing executive, the marketing manager, the marketing apprentice, and you'd have a boss holding you accountable for it. But you're now the boss, but you're also now a marketing person. So you need to hold yourself accountable for doing those things. And then you need to measure the results of those things, not tomorrow, not next month, but in 3 months' time, to see what impact those things actually had. And if you start to see improvements because of the things you did 3 months ago, that's when you know things were working. Not, oh, it didn't work immediately, so I'm going to do something else. yes, there is a need for change, a need for pivoting, but it's not pivoting out of what you're doing. It's pivoting within what you're doing to something different to find the part that works, because there are very few parts of marketing that won't work for almost every business. It's just how you implement those things.
It's also quite frustrating working with lagging measurements where you have to, trial it for 3 months before you can decide whether you had any form of success or not. I think that's probably only going to get worse as we move forward as a race, right? We commented as I opened the podcast, I looked down at my phone and I had 43 notifications. I'd only not looked at my phone for an hour. 43 notifications. And, we're living in the age where, we're trained for endorphins and adrenaline rush in the now. You've got to pick your phone up, you've got to answer the notification, you want a result now. And this is one area of life where we just have to accept that we need to be patient with it, to treat it with respect and dignity. I don't think anybody's ever said that about marketing before, but it's an element of that, right? Like it's just got to be nurtured. Then to change aspects a little bit, you've obviously worked with a lot of different clients across a lot of different industries, lots of different size businesses. Is there anything that you're seeing trending right now that seems to be working more or less across the board, that's working well in some regard for pretty much everyone, that maybe wasn't in the not too distant past?
It's a tricky one, because actually there are some things that work across most industries, but then there's certain things that just don't work in others. Anywhere where there's a security element, so cybersecurity, for instance, much harder to sell and a much harder thing to market when you try to do it through cold outreach. That is, it's nigh on impossible to do it through cold outreach, because it literally goes against grain for everything that it stands for. So that then comes back to how else do you do it? The answer there is to start looking at other activities and not just go with the flow with everybody. Incorporating both digital and offline activities. People don't consider both. Digital is very straightforward. It's very quick to implement. And with exactly, you can do it. AI powered this, that, and the other will create most of what you need very quickly, albeit not always amazing. And you still need to give it a good polish, but it gets you 80% of the way there for 20% of the work. But then you forget that there's everybody else like you is doing that same thing. So you're just filling the hole with noise and nobody can hear what you're saying. So you need to do something different. And companies that do something different will succeed. I'm not going to say what that thing that is different is. There's one. You need to speak to me about that. And your thing that's different is different from each other. If everybody did the same, it would still be the same.
There's a really powerful note, though, and I've heard you talk about this a lot before, and I've seen the impacts of it, is that thinking offline, because everybody just wants results now. And it ties into the point we made earlier. So everybody wants results now. So the quickest thing you can do now is a digital something, whereas actually the best results often come from that offline touch point. I do a lot of networking. And actually, with my close network, sometimes just pick up the phone to people. And if I forget that I can do it, but when I do, I have amazing conversations, probably way better than any video conversation that we have or anything, because it's like you try and focus on something else whilst you're on the phone. You can't. So like having that phone, you've got their entire attention. Just the same as that moment when they open the post. When you open the post, there's nothing else happening because you're focused on opening the post. And often email, as you call it, that's probably an unfamiliar term to us. I've never heard of it till I heard you speak about it. I see it everywhere now. But lumpy mail is something that I reckon most businesses don't even think is possible for them.
It's the thing is, for some, they'll see it as cost prohibitive. It's really not. Given that its return is significant, as long as you've got something, as long as what you've got to market is worth marketing, which if you're running a campaign, you're actually doing this, then it should be. Yeah, it's not a direct mail campaign. B2B is going to have an impact because you've got the experience of opening something up. It's a tactile one. You don't forget about it. with some of the sort of people that we work with, the getting stuff through the door is the easy bit. Getting it past reception is the tricky bit. But we've got our ways. We've got our ways for that. There's no problem. Generally no problem getting past that. But then there's also making sure that you actually do something with it. So it's all well and good sending somebody something in the mail, but what do you do afterwards? Do you just leave it and hope that they pick up the phone and call you or email you or send you a carrier pigeon? No, you need to that's just one part of an entire campaign. It's not an individual activity. It's not an individual campaign. It is an activity within one campaign. We're in the middle of setting up a campaign for an event at the moment. There's 7 channels activated for this campaign. We've got 32 days.
I imagine a lot of people have put off because that sounds really complicated, and I know it won't be simple, but there's coordination having to be done, and it's a little bit connecting channels together and making sure you're managing across multiple channels.
Yeah.
That's what has the impact, and it's worth the return if you can give it a go.
In this case,
a lot of people who just want results for zero commitment, they just want to have it done. Like, oh, there must be a package I can select. And no, you've got to put some work in. Certainly in the early days of running a business, you've got to put the effort in. And sadly, I know a lot of business owners set out to achieve one thing. Like, they have a business goal, they want to help people with a particular problem. And as you do when you set up your first business, I know I did. Like, I assumed I'd spend a lot more time working on the actual problems I solve than I do on the marketing and sales side of things. And actually, the reverse is true. I spend 8% of my time marketing and selling, probably about 20% of my time solving issues to my clients. And maybe at some point I'll be able to afford some team that will help me change that bandwidth slightly. But it's something you've got to accept. If it's easy, you're probably not putting enough effort in.
Yeah.
Lean into it.
And there's plenty of ways to make it easier. But at the same time, you still have to invest that time in the first place to get it there.
Yeah, I think probably the one thing that I take away from all the things that I do is that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to assume that it'll work, and I'll put the effort in to make it rubber stampable. Next time I go to do it. And sometimes I'll do that and the effort's a little bit wasted because actually it didn't work. So I'm not going to do it again. I'll spend that time creating a template or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, it's there and I've done it the first time or I've done it the second time.
Yeah.
First time. Template it up the second time. It just works. Don't leave it until you've done it 5 or 6 times to build that template out because you've wasted so much of your valuable time. I think that's where I like to see business owners. I just want to help business owners get back to doing more of. If you're going to be doing marketing, do the right things. Stop doing things that don't work. And if you are a business owner, do as little marketing sales, but acknowledge that when you're doing it, do it 100%.
Yeah.
Phil, is there anything else you'd like to leave the audience with in terms of your experience in marketing in the last while that you've been involved in it? What's the takeaway that you would like to share with the audience that you've learned through all the roles that you've held?
One key thing, and it's a very simple one. Know what your goals are. That's it. If you don't know what your goals are, you can't measure it. You can't measure it, you don't know whether something's been a success or not.
I love that. Awesome. Phil, if people are listening to this and they want to know more about how Bacon Marketing can help them, how can they reach you, mate?
Carrier pigeon, number 1. Bidey Pick, number 2. Or they could find me on LinkedIn or go to our website, www.baconmarketing.co.uk.
Make sure all the links are in the show notes as well. Phil, it's always a pleasure, mate. Thank you for coming on the show. And if you've been listening along at home and you've enjoyed Phil's insights, I'd love you to reach out, drop us an email at the show. Either drop Phil a message or drop me a message. You've got all my details in the show notes already. And we will see you next week for our next guest on Market Pulse. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you would like to feature on a future show, or you've got some ideas for folks who would make a great guest, please drop us a line. The contact details are in the show notes. We'd love to hear from you. Your host today was Paul Banks, founder at Javelin Content Management. Javelin specializes in helping busy business owners just like you to repurpose video content, taking all the stress and tech problems away, and turning your long-form video into literally hundreds of pieces of content without breaking the bank. If you want to launch your personal brand, become the vendor of choice for your audience, or maximize your sales revenue impact, we'd love to hear from you. Join us next week for the next episode, and don't forget to give us a subscribe and a review. Our podcast is only possible with your support.